Today, we are looking at game video, analyzing the game video so we can all get better together. 5 plays. Stick around. Greetings and welcome back to another episode of 5 Play Friday, the show where we analyze game video, look at all the things, positioning of the crew, working the system, getting plays right, etc. So we can all get better together. Greetings again, everybody. My name is Greg Austin with A Better Official. We craft video to help basketball officials get better and take control of their officiating career. 5 Play Friday helps us do that. Analyzing game video is the #1 way for rapid improvement as a basketball official. If this is the video content that you find valuable, it'd be a great time to do all the things. Hit like, subscribe, notify so you don't miss out on any of our new content. We live stream every Wednesday and Friday. Join us for the live stream. Put your voice in the game and we'll all get better together. Allow me a moment to thank those who fuel our show, our tremendous show supporters. Chris Healy, Chuck Kazulis, Gerald Mazzucci, Nate Luther, and Kevin Scott. Much appreciated and much love. If you want to support the show, you can always buy us a coffee. I'll put a link down in the show notes below. All right, today we're looking at viewer-submitted plays. If you want to submit a play for review on 5 Play Friday, there'll be a link down in the show notes and a link on the screen here, abetterofficial.com/submit plays. Let's look at play number 1. So we have a double whistle on this play. One official has a held ball. One official has a traveling violation. The trail gets the entire crew together to sort out what the adjudication on the play will be. And ultimately, a traveling violation is ruled, right? So some interesting things that come from this play. Of course, when we're analyzing game video, we're analyzing all of the things, right? What's our demeanor, our presence on the court, how we communicate, etc., etc., right? So on this play, first of all, on its merits, is this a held ball situation, right? Let's say we have a defender in this situation who prevents the release of a pass, potentially by the post player who's making a move. Is that a held ball situation? They prevented the release, right? But that only applies if we prevent the release of an airborne player. A player is airborne, attempts to release a try or release a pass, and the pass is prevented by the defender from being released. So in this instance, this is not a situation where a held ball would occur by rule. This is a traveling violation. If you have a ball handler who terminates their dribble and takes a step to release a pass, and the pass is prevented, and they put their pivot foot back down, as in this play, then that is a traveling violation by rule. So that's that, right? On this play, is it necessary to come together with the third partner? No, it's not, right? Let's just resolve this on the spot, right? If one official wants to take control of the situation. If you're the trail and you know that is a traveling violation by rule, right? We can always come in. I got to travel first, right? Sell it and go, and then we can discuss that in the locker room after the game, that this is not a situation where the ball being prevented from being released is an issue on the play, right? But do we need to go to the third official? Do we need to put our crew in a position where we are no longer observing players on a play like this, right? This is not a complicated situation. So I would say no. Let's just resolve it on the spot, move the game along quickly. And then also we note that the calling official who had the traveling, there's sort of a seeking approval from the head coach, right? After the play, right? Let's watch that. And we just want to get that out of the game, right? We don't want that appearance of that, etc. Right, so let's watch. So we get our crew together. Now we're no longer observing players on a play that really doesn't rise to the level of needing a crew discussion, right? In the end, the ruling is traveling, and we're moving on, right? I think we could have done that much more effectively. This is a traveling violation by rule. Player steps through. Let's look at it again. Get out the way, ref. Right foot pivot, puts the right foot back down, right? Point of emphasis this year, National Federation of High School Basketball rules. Point of emphasis is traveling, identifying the pivot foot, etc. But a really key takeaway from this is, if we don't already know, is that in this situation, we do not have an airborne player who the ball is prevented from being released. This is not a situation where a held ball would come into play for the prevention of release. If we have a situation, in the same situation, where two players are holding the ball so tightly that rough play may ensue, then we would have a held ball violation. So that I'd say would be the takeaways on this play. Let's take a look now at play number 2. Right, a simple play scenario here. This is traveling by the post player. Key takeaways here would, of course, be that our center official is poorly positioned in transition. You know, working at basically the top of the arc. We'd want to be free throw line extended here. Our trail official, body language a little disengaged from the action. Our center official properly rules a traveling violation, and our trail official mimics or mirrors the traveling violation and looks again at the coach, almost like we don't want to get in a situation where it looks like we're seeking approval or anything like that, right? Just make the ruling and move on. We do not mirror a traveling violation in this instance. So a simple mechanics question. We can look at the play on its merits, right? What gets us to this point? Rebounding action. Player lands with 2 feet on the floor. Either can be the pivot. Does a little hop step, right, where both feet are repositioned. We have a right foot pivot in this instance. And replaces the right foot. The initial transfer of the feet, I think, would be our key point of this play. Right? Player feet are positioned here, does a quick repositioning of both feet. Traveling violation by rule. Again, if this is the kind of call that we're going to put into our game, we'd want to be consistent. We have that similar play at the other end of the court of those repositioning of the feet. We'd want to get that play there as well. So, traveling, again, a point of emphasis this year, National Federation of High School Basketball rule is traveling play, right? Correctly called by the center official. We would look, though, to things that we could improve, identify, and potentially are in our own game for better positioning as the center official, habits of the trail, not mirroring the signal as well, right? Things that we would want to improve in our own game. It disconnects as well, right? Yeah, an emphatic call, right? Right. So when we have a violation ruling, our habits that we'd want to display, and this especially applies to younger officials. Younger officials see this video and they say, oh, that's how we're supposed to do it, right? Traveling violations, step towards the violation. It's always done in a sequence, signal, direction, and designate the spot. If we do all of those things, we remain tethered to the spot, right? And we're not moving away. In this instance, when we have this violation in the middle of the lane like this, put it on the far side so that our crew does not have to bump, so our new trail does not have to come across, right? If it's in the lane, let's consider it in the lane and we can go to the opposite side here so that our crew remains whole, etc. But again, habits, right? When we make this call, we don't want to get excited. This is just a ruling that we're putting in the game, right? This isn't a big deal. Just put the ruling in the game, businesslike, end line throw in, designate the spot. You'd still be the center here. You'd bring in subs, etc. You know the whole sequence and how it's all going to play out. Hey, let's look at play number 3. Right, so here's that play. You know that one. Get out the way, Rev. Is this a legal play by rule? We have a player on the floor. Right, let's take a look. Ball gets loose. Ball's batted around. Our defender dives. And the ball is in front of her. Possibly she has the ball in the crook of her arm. Could be considered to be holding the basketball. This is a player on the floor holding the basketball. Is her torso on the floor? Is it not on the floor? These are key questions. But from that position, she then rises to basically all fours here. Is she holding the basketball? Possibly, possibly. Is this a traveling violation by rule? And then the player, her torso becomes erect. She's looking to pass. Begins a dribble. And the calling official rules a traveling violation. Was the traveling violation ruled because the player dribbled and stood up? Is the initial part of the play illegal? These are the questions we want to know, and presents issues properly adjudicating these plays. Of course, National Federation of High School Basketball Rules addresses a player who is laying down on their back, and that player is allowed to sit up and do all the things. That's specifically referenced, right? And the rule itself says that a player on the floor holding the basketball may not get up, attempt to get up or stand, right? What is the definition of attempt to get up, right? And it remains undefined in National Federation of High School Basketball Rules. I think most officials, when they see a play like this, and this player who was somewhat on all fours, right, then rises up on their knees here, is going to say that is a traveling violation by rule. I don't know that the rules necessarily support that. It's a tough one. Now, obviously, though, the player ultimately from the floor begins a dribble, right? In this position, if a player's in this position and begins a dribble and then stands up, that is a legal play by rule. So our key part here is whether the player who was somewhat on all fours, right? She was on her elbows and her knees with the ball. Was she holding the basketball? And then she rose up so that no longer were her elbows on the floor, right? Is this a traveling violation by rule? It's a tough one. This is the kind of play where we are communicating as officials and we are talking through the rules and getting really kind of nerding out on it, right? I think common practice on this play remains this is considered a traveling violation. Me personally, I don't think that player got up. I think that player moved their body in a position where they were able to do something basketball related, but it's open to interpretation. So it's a fun play. It's a great example of sort of what the crux of the matter is on a play like this, right? Is this action by a player on the floor holding the basketball legal or illegal? So it's great to see the play. That play was from Chad Bjornson, submitted by Billy Mack from a small little corner of Connecticut. And I guess there's a discussion raging over at the officiating.com website. I'll put a link to the officiating.com chat board, a great discussion area for basketball officials. And maybe I'll put a link to the discussion over there as well. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, tremendous. Let's take a look at our next play. Really straightforward play. This is really a coverage play. Whose call is this? Was there a foul, etc.? We can look at the position of the crew. Our center official starts to raise an arm here, right? We have an obvious foul. This player is raked across the forearm. Do we want this call coming from the lead on a play up high on a play to the basket? Was this the lead's primary coverage area? These are all the things that we're looking at as basketball officials on this play. We can also look at the position. Our trail official is kind of, we get ourselves stuck and we're on a ledge, right? Trail could definitely come in with a whistle on this play if neither the center or lead have a whistle on the play. Should we have primary cadence by the lead on this play? Coming from the center's primary, the defender on the far side of the lane also in the center's primary, right? So it really becomes a coverage play for discussion. The call is correct. The call is made by the lead. We could have a cadence whistle in that situation, allow the center the opportunity to officiate the play. In any instance, this is an obvious foul. We are going to get it from lead. We are going to get it from trail, but work the system, right? We're always looking for ways to improve at working the system. That's a foul. You're not going to call it. Boom, right? Cadence whistle in that instance. This would be the kind of play that you may pregame, right? So we have a drive from just outside the lane, but it's in the center's primary. How are we going to officiate this play, right? And we discuss that, and then we can discuss plays that sort of vary off of that. It could be a great discussion as a crew as we discuss discipline and about how we're going to work the system, how we're going to handle plays tonight, right? Center side drives are always a great way to begin discussions in a pregame, right? Start with a center side drive with a primary defender. Who's going to officiate that play? How are we going to do that as a crew tonight? And then we can get to variations of a play such as this one and discuss, okay, well, how about just outside, etc. What are we going to do as a crew with an obvious foul that's in our partner's primary, right? If we say, look, the way we pre-gamed it, this is the center's call. There's no whistle on the play, right? How are we going to officiate this, etc.? This is an obvious foul. So what we're really looking at on this play submitted by David is how we're going to function as a crew. Who should put a whistle? What kind of whistle should it be, primary or cadence on the play? Al says, got to let the C get that call, right? And when we look at analyze game video, we're looking at the crew and working the system. Do we fully understand the system, right? A lot of times, especially even at two-person, officials will say they have a complete understanding of two-person mechanics and responsibilities, etc., and they pregame the game, and then the discipline just goes out the window. Everybody's sort of calling all over the place, right? One of the ways we develop as basketball officials is becoming more disciplined working the system. The three-person system for officiating says this play, is in the primary of this official. They have the responsibility for the matchup. They should have the primary whistle on the play. We also know that officials have secondary coverage areas. How should our whistle be in a secondary coverage area situation? Are we just ball watching around and seeing something and reacting, etc.? We obviously want to take that out of the game and learn to work with discipline. Discipline here as a crew. If we're analyzing our game video, let's say I'm the lead here, and I put a whistle on this play. My thinking should be, should I have put a cadence whistle on this play or a primary whistle on this play? We seem to have a primary whistle on this play, right? Is that the appropriate thing in working this system? In how we had pre-gamed the game, etc., was this the appropriate thing? How could I be more patient, right? Often lead officials will work on a back foot as opposed to a front foot because human nature plays coming at you. But if we find in our game video that we are putting reaction whistles on plays, I see something and that's a foul, right? If we do that habitually, no. We want to learn to recognize the system we're working. That's my partner's call. They're not going to put a whistle on an obvious foul. Okay, I can always come late and develop that skill as well. That's what we're looking for when we analyze our game video, is did we work properly in the system? Did we work as we had pre-gamed it? Do we have that understanding? Do we show that discipline? How could we improve, right? All of these things come to bear when we analyze our game video, right? So a simple discipline play, working the system play, one that we want to, when we analyze our game video, see if we are properly executing in our three-person mechanics here. Are we executing relating to how we pre-gamed the play, right? This kind of play. And are we showing discipline on the court, something we want to do as basketball officials, and something that really, when we analyze our game video, jumps off the screen? Was I disciplined? Was I working the system? Did the proper official put the proper ruling on the play, right? And that's how we get better as basketball officials. All right, let's move on now to our next play. All right, transition block charge play, right? Our center, or our new lead rather, is beat, right? Lets the play pass them by, tries to get an angle on the play, rules a player control foul on this play. Let's take a look on its merits. What do we have? Right. To me, this is a question of whether our defender ever had legal guarding position. A lot of times we communicate, we talk as officials about plays, and people instinctively say, oh, he never had legal guarding position, when in fact the player did. But in this instance, I think a case could be made our player never established a legal guarding position on the court. Of course, legal guarding position, 2 feet on the floor, facing the opponent, right? After we have 2 feet on the floor facing the opponent, then the player is allowed to turn, etc., and the requirement is no longer there. But to establish legal guarding position, it's necessary to have 2 feet on the floor facing the opponent. So in this play, right, do we have that? That's the question here. Our defender is running. No, right? And now other officials will say, well, they need 2 feet on the floor facing their opponent in the path of the opponent. That's not a requirement. Sometimes players can be, obliquely, facing an opponent with 2 feet on the floor, and then that player goes to the side, etc. So in this instance, that would be my judgment on this play, is this player never establishes legal guarding position, right? They never were able to get those 2 feet on the floor and their torso facing the opponent on the play, right? So we have incorrect ruling here, right? Sometimes we are beat and we have to find an angle on a play, right? The other thing that the takeaway I would have on this play is an awareness of where our crew is, right? A lot of times officials in this instance, where they are beaten on a play, feel the need to be the one who puts a whistle on this play, even though they may not be the one who has the best look. If I know my center is in a strong position here, I may, as new lead, be more patient, right? If there's an obvious foul, they can get the foul, right? That's certainly on the table, right? In this instance, I think our official believes they had the call, they had displacement, and they had the ruling on the play of a player control foul. In my opinion, we never had legal guarding position by the defender on the court. Now, this is also the kind of play that we can pregame as a crew, right? Especially if you're working in a venue where things are tough on the sidelines. I know at a high school close to my home here, that is something I'm definitely going to cover, because it's easy for our new lead to get stuck. We've got players' feet that are right about on the sideline, and there's just no room to work on that side of the court. Recognize where you are as a crew. If your partner is stuck, be there and be ready to extend as the center here. If you are the lead in this situation, maybe be more patient. Don't feel like you have to fight. We can get this play right as a crew, right? So something to pregame as well. Let's take a look at our next play. Right, so we have here a similar block charge play, but one where our defender establishes legal guarding position and then turns their body, right? And these kind of calls can be challenging because so much energy is involved with, oh, he's got to take it in the chest, etc., what have you. So on this play, let's take a look. Right, Does our defender establish a legal guarding position? Right. You could say at this point they have they have 2 feet on the floor and they are facing the opponent. But then they turn their body, right? Or in this instance, turn their body, right? Are they allowed to do that? By rule, no. I mean, by rule, yes. Sorry. And then they are displaced, right? Anytime we have a player who's turned sideways and displaced, it does not appear to be that they were in a legal guarding position, right? So our player here, our defender, does for an instance establish legal guarding position. We could sell this call on its merits. But the legal guarding position, although it only takes an instant to establish, not really in the path of the defender, right? So this is a call that almost always is going to be ruled a block, just based on all the things that come together on it. You could make a case that by rule, this player had established legal guarding position, they are allowed to turn, etc. But a tough sell. Tough sell on this play. Thanks, Ted, for submitting that play. It's an interesting one, the one that really provokes our understanding of legal guarding position and what a defender's allowed to do, how we're going to rule on a similar play. But now let's look at another bonus play. All right, so we have a hooking action by a ball handler. Trail official comes and gets the play. I think it's a great call, right? When the player hooks, sometimes players will move their arm around an opponent, but when the player moves the arm around the opponent and shifts that opponent's weight, gets them off balance, that's where we have the illegal activity by rule. But this is a good play also to look at the positioning of the crew and habits and demeanor, right, on the play. Right. So everything that's on the far side of the court, our center official, very relaxed as they work as center on this play. Right? If you are center on this play, there is nothing, basically nothing for you to officiate here. Ultimately, that player is going to hook and turn towards the center official, right? But we can have a very relaxed demeanor here. Notice our lead official, the positioning of the lead, right? When the ball, when we have our three-point shooter, the lead is in a pinch the paint, close down position. At a minimum, we need to mirror the ball position with our outside shoulder in this instance. It doesn't mean in high school, of course, this three-point shooter and the defender belong to the trail official. But if we close our body off in this position, if we close our body off from the action, if there's a resulting drive, the events are going to surprise us as lead. So we at least want to, of course, have 45-degree angle with shoulders, ball aware, not looking at the ball, but ball aware and relatively positioning to the ball in this instance. Right? Let's let the play run. Right? And now the ball handler picks up the dribble in the lead's primary coverage area. But note that our lead is officiating inside out, right? Their view on the play, it doesn't embrace what's going to happen next and having the best angle on other players. If this same official was out, let's say, parallel to the A on the end line, they would have the angle on the ball handler plus what's going to happen next, working outside in. So what our initial position put us pinching the paint, then the play comes at us and we have to look outside, right? We have to look outside away from the lane area, and we're cutting ourselves off from that information. So we have, we could improve our look on this play. And we have the call. Right? A simple, straightforward play. Not a lot to that. Let's see. Let's see if I got my sequence right. Gus, what's the correct... Asleep at the switch. Okay. Hey, thanks for joining us today on 5 Play Friday. Appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video. Before you go, do all the things. It'd be a great time to do it. Hit the like button, subscribe, and notify so you don't miss out on any of our new content. If you hit that like button, it gets the video in front of more basketball officials so we can all get better together. Do allow me a moment to thank those who fuel our show. Chris Healy Sr., Chuck Kizulas, Gerald Mazzucci, Nate Luther, and Kevin Scott. Much appreciated and much love. You want to support the show? I'll put a link up above, and I'm going to put one in the show notes below. Tremendous. We have additional video content available for you here. This is a video that I've selected. This is a video that YouTube has selected. You choose the video that you select, and we'll see you in the very next video. Take care, everybody. Merry Christmas!